Thank you very much, Piridi, for your wonderful speech. Now I'd like to bring onto the stage the panelists for the environment team, starting with Georgia Lombardi, Sufyan Al-Alami, Saisha Suri, and Aman Siddiqui. Please bring a warm round of applause for the panelists.
We'd now like to open the panel discussion and like to hear your thoughts and insights on the topic. As we know, COVID-19 very likely emerged due to the invasion of the bats' natural habitat, where we selfishly entered their environment. Now, particularly in the wet markets of Wuhan in China is likely where the first case of coronavirus first occurred. This is because in these wet markets, live and dead animals in tens and thousands are bought and sold through private traders, which are often illegal. After such a hectic and what we could consider chaotic year, it is vital that we, in fact, do not forget or Ctrl-Alt-Delete about our planet. It is necessary that we Ctrl-Alt-Delete our destructive actions towards our planet and put our best foot forward to face climate change. Our world has existed for over 4.5 billion years, and throughout this huge amount of time, organisms have managed to coexist in what we could call peace and have evolved successfully to what we know of them today. However, as the rise of industrialization has occurred over the past decades, humans have successfully managed to destroy the interdependence between organisms through things like industrial farming and fishing. Now, I would like to shed light upon the dangers of human contact with animals, as well as how destructing their natural habitats contributes to the outbreak of viruses. An example of this, of course, not only COVID, is the mad cow virus, which occurred through the contact of humans in cattle farms, or even viruses that occurred through birds, such as salmonella, chickenpox, or avian flu, all occurred through the direct or indirect contact with humans and animals. All of these viruses are of zoonotic descent, and 3 in 4 of the infectious viruses that exist in the world today are caused due to the direct or indirect contact from humans with the blood of other animals or even their feces and urine. Now, one of the main problems is farming. Due to the rise of the most recent industrialization in the past years, we have successfully managed to deforest 70% of the Amazon rainforest to provide space for cattle farming. Now, not only is this destroying the cattle population, but it is also impacting our environment, as through the destruction of these forests, we are no longer able to absorb the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, which obviously contributes to climate change.
The problem with this is that we've had elevated levels of economic growth over the past decade, and one side effect of that are the negative environmental externalities that we face as a result. And as our environment has thrived and our economy has developed and technology has emerged, our environment has been damaged to a substantial level where it's almost irreversible. The one major thing that we could look at now is with COVID-19, the exact opposite has actually happened, where our economy has halted, we've experienced a recession, but our environment has actually had an opportunity to breathe. Flights were halted, carbon emissions fell, and our environment, we could actually see it healing and developing to a point where we had a point where it's a clean slate and we could heal it forever. One important thing to look at now is that how can we move forward after facing this recession through not damaging our environment? As vaccines are getting dished out and flights are being taken again, we have to make an active effort now that the economic growth that we face to try and offset this recession does not have the major environmental externalities and the major environmental side effects, which will help us develop as an economy and as a whole planet. We could look at entrepreneurs manipulating the supply chain management. We could use clean energy like nuclear, solar, hydroelectric. And we have to look at the government's use of tradable pollution permits and carbon taxation. So we could offset all of this dangerous environmental chaos that we're enduring through economic growth and through healing our economy at the same time. It's now where we can make an active effort to change.
Like Georgia mentioned, you have the pervasiveness of the commercial farming, of intensive fishing. How do you think that we can sort of minimize and curtail the impact of that? Because as easy as it is to say, you know, go vegan, go vegetarian, we know that the food options are a little bit overpriced in comparison to the meat and dairy options that we have. What do you think can be the most sort of feasible way to overcome that and be on the path towards more sustainable and environmentally friendly consumption from us as consumers?
I completely agree with the majority of people saying that they can't actually lead a plant-based diet. However, I do agree that humans, since their existence almost, we've had a both plant and animal-based diet because we are omnivores. However, I'm not saying that we should stop eating animals. It is only from the past decade that we've truly demolished our environment almost through the intensive industrial farming and industrial fishing. So I'm not saying that we should stop eating animals. I'm saying that we should stop treating animals in the way that we are, and we should stop extensive farming and extensive fishing that truly will lead to the end of human existence on Earth.
Some excellent points mentioned, and I really appreciate that, because when it comes to making change with the environment and making sure people are adopting sustainable practices, it isn't just one discipline we're tackling. It is not possible to just go out there and talk about saving the environment and how it's better for everyone, whether it's for humans or whether it's for the different biomes or whether it's for other life organisms. There are several other factors that have to be considered for change to be realistic and for change to be sustainable. Since we know that vegan options cost more, when we go out and talk about the environment, we also address economics with it. We address religious factors with it. We address social factors. We have to look at cultural implications. We have to look at what's available in a particular society, whether the alternatives are going to be feasible for them, and multiple other factors. So really, considering the multidisciplinary nature of the field is also very important.
So if we begin looking nationally, we have the UAE, which has started with the Global National Climate Change Plan, and this was ratified in 2017, and it sort of acted as a roadmap to bolster international climate change mitigation around the world. It aimed to act as sort of a network and sort of a beginning of legislation with aims to reduce carbon emissions by 2 degrees in the UAE. And then internationally, we have the Paris Climate Accord, with the USA being the only country that wasn't signed to it in Trump's administration. However, when we had Biden, within his first week, he signed back into it. And this does sound good, and this does sound like we are on the verge of progressive climate change. However, it also shows that it is an extremely volatile topic. You have governments of the day sort of signing in and signing out of this accord, which is so influential, so pervasive, and it creates a platform for countries all over the world to come in and sort of dish out their ideas and act legally binding towards reducing carbon emissions. And when you have a country like the US not present or present and then not present, it really raises concerns as to whether climate change is on the forefront of their missions as the government itself. So this isn't something that should be a partisan issue. This isn't something that should change with the governments that are in office. This is something that is bipartisan and something that should be agreed upon wholly by the government firstly, and then the citizens acting along.
And I agree 100%. But one thing we do need to look at is that no matter what type of individual effort we can make to offset climate change, these major multinationals, which are given the pass by governments, are allowed to pollute and destroy our environment, and to a level which is incomparable to the small amount of things like our mini pollution that we do and our plastic bags that we use at the supermarket. However, at the same time, it's important not to undermine these many issues, and as well as us making a small change, we have to look at our governments to make a mega impact and regulate the type of pollution that major multinationals and huge companies can do across the world. What do you think are some small efforts that we can make individually to offset climate change?
Well, of course, these were some very important points made, and I am so glad that we've discussed the role of governance as well, and ultimately addressed the multidisciplinary nature of this field. And apart from that, there's also the question of what can we as individuals do. It might be easy to blame governance and policy sitting in air-conditioned rooms, but it also comes down to what we as individuals go. So before we close off this panel, that's a question I want to leave with all listeners. What can you as an individual do to improve your sustainable practices individually and in the community to live in? So thank you for listening, and we hope you have a wonderful day ahead.